First things first, we need to get our heads around our main analogy for today, the fleet formation. This is how we're going to visualize the structure we call an array.
So what is an array, really? Well, in simple terms, it's just a strictly ordered sequence of data. And that word ordered is the key. I want you to picture starships traveling in a perfect single-file formation. Every piece of data in an array has a very specific place in that line.
All right, now let's engage with our primary tool for making additions, the push method. This is going to be the command you'll be using all the time to add new elements to your fleet.
To really get how this works, just imagine this tactical scenario. A new ship arrives to join the fleet. Now, standard procedure dictates its position. It doesn't just cut in line anywhere at once. Nope, it falls in right at the very back.
And that right there is exactly what the push method does. It has one clear job. Add one or more new items to the absolute end, the rear of the array. It's clean, it's efficient, and maybe most importantly, it's completely predictable. Let's see this in action, because code speaks louder than words, right? Okay, so we start with our fleet array. You can see we've got the Enterprise and Defiant. Then we give the command fleet.push Voyager. And look at the result. The new manifest shows Voyager has been added, taking its proper spot right at the end of the formation. Okay, this all seems pretty simple, right? Which kind of leads to a big question. Why is this one little command so essential for managing our data? Well, let's get into its essential tactical applications. Once you see these scenarios, it'll all click into place why push is the command standard. Just think about how data usually comes at us. It's often in order, one thing after another. Take sensor logs, for example. Every new reading just gets tacked onto the end of the log. Same goes for subspace message queues, right? Incoming messages get added to the back of the line so they get processed in the order they were received. And what if you're building a totally new list from a giant database? Say you're scanning for all M-class planets. Simple. Every time you find a match, you just push it into your new growing array.
And this really gets to the heart of it. And it's even in the official technical manual. Push perfectly mirrors chronological data processing. It's all about honoring the order of arrival, which, as you can imagine, is absolutely critical in so many situations.
But, push is only one piece of the puzzle. If you want full command of your fleet, your formation, you have to master the entire array boundary matrix. This matrix here gives you total control over the edges of your array, the front and the back. So like we just saw, you use push to add to the rear. Its direct opposite is pop, which, you guessed it, removes from the rear. Now, what about the front of the formation, the Vanguard? To add something there, you use unshift, and to remove that lead item, you use shift.
So let's focus on that first pair, the one that controls the rear. Push is the command for a new ship to join the end of the line. And pop, that's the command for when the very last ship in the formation breaks off and leaves. Okay, now for the front of the line. Unshift is kind of like a new flagship arriving and taking the lead position. When that happens, the whole rest of the fleet has to shift back one spot to make room. And shift, that's when the lead ship just jumps to warp, leaving the formation entirely. The second ship then moves up to take its place.
All right, let's run our mission debrief and make sure we've got the key takeaways locked in.
Okay, here's what you really need to remember. First, arrays are all about ordered sequences. Second, pushing is your go-to command for adding new things to the end of that sequence. That makes it totally essential for any kind of chronological data. Think logs, queues, you name it. And finally, it's really the bedrock of managing dynamic lists in JavaScript.
And that leaves us with one last scenario to think about. If push is the standard protocol for data that arrives in order, what would you do with a priority 1 message from Starfleet Command? The kind that has to jump to the very front of the queue. Based on the commands we've just gone over, you already know the answer. That's all for this briefing. Dismissed.